Hello and welcome to coverage of the TCGplayer MaxPoint Championship. We're in Indianapolis. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe in the booth with Frank Lepore. And we are underway in round 10. This is the first round of day 2, and we have Mark-Antony Byrd versus Dan Zeiler. Both of these players are undefeated. Mark did pick up a draw in the first round, but Dan Zeiler's on a perfect 9-0. And they're the only two left in the field sitting at with no losses on their rap sheet here. Now, Mark-Antony, he's on Jeskai combo, Frank. He's playing against blue-black control. It's going to be an interesting one to see how it plays out.
We see the Jeskai combo, the Jeskai Ascendancy right there in his hand.
Yeah, so he's got a big piece of his combo. He usually come in with the God Celt and find maybe a carry added.
Oh, a Curious Follower will do. It's a lot more fragile than a Sylvan carry added in this matchup, though.
I mean, it's probably too fragile to even consider attempting to go off, right? Like, Dan is going to have so many ways to kill that.
Dan has infinite removal that he has nothing else to use it on.
Right.
Like, this isn't a deck that goes creature, 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 creature. It's actually a deck that, you know, the opponent has 2 creatures, and anytime you can kill one, you're going to want to.
He plays an Urborg on turn 2. So now he's representing Bile Blight.
Which is great for actually Mark, because it helps him not take any damage from that mana confluence if he wants colorless. And tormenting is it Voices?
Tormented Voice.
That's actually a great card for him because it lets him discard excess lands, excess creatures, whatever, and dig 2 deeper for his combo.
Indeed, and he does find another piece of his combo there.
Do we know
if Retraction Helix.
Do we know if Mark-Antony has Dig Through Time in his deck?
He does not.
Okay.
He has a 3, I believe. We will get deck lists.
Because I mean, Tormenting Voice is actually great for that because it adds 2 cards for the delve.
For the delve, yeah. I think he had 3 is what I remember from yesterday.
And there you go. Bile Blight that guy into the Stone Age.
What is that, an F&M Bile Blight?
That would be the F&M promo Bile Blight, yeah.
All right.
Very blighty. Yeah, so scry to the bottom here for Dan Zeiler and passes back to Mark-Antony. Mark-Antony looks like he's missing land drops here, which makes me wonder why he discarded that Mana Confluence. And unfortunately, Commune with the Gods is not Grizzly Fate, so you can't hit lands. You can only hit enchantments or creatures. So not Satyr Wayfinder, not Grizzly Fate. No lands will be found there. And yeah, like just as we mentioned, Dan is wasting no time killing any creature that Mark-Antony plays.
No, and there's no reason not to. He's going to be overloaded with spot removal spells over the course of this game anyway. And we mentioned it at the onset. This is all about finding a Sylvan Caryatid for Mark-Antony Byrd. That's at least going to give him a chance to go off because Dan can't actually kill the Caryatid with spot removal. He's going to need something like a Perilous Vault, but we still need those deck lists. We'll get them factor here is if Dan Zeiler's on like a Perilous Vault style build here, or if he's on like something closer to what Yvonne Flock ran at the Pro Tour.
Dan's hand is like 4 lands and a Hero's Downfall, if I'm not mistaken.
Wow, really? That's a bad hand. Okay, there's one Dig Through Time.
Well, the good thing about Mark-Antony is that like he just has a bunch of time in this matchup. There's no pressure. There's not going to be any pressure till at least turn 7 if Pro-Like Ancient is Dan's win condition.
4 Perilous Vault for Zeiler.
Okay. Yeah, it's definitely 4 lands. I think that was a 5th land.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, so he's just like, here you go. Like it's a dissolve. He has 1 dissolve, 1 Hero's Downfall, and 3 lands.
That is significantly different.
Yes, that is much more relevant.
So Mark-Antony has to decide how he wants to approach this here. One way that you'll see players that are trying to get specific spells resolved is to wait until they have 2 and try to play 2 of them in the same turn to get through some number of counter spells. He looks like he has 2 Jeskai Ascendancy, but has decided not to run out either of them on his turn. Just passes it back to Dan, who plays a Radiant Fountain. Yeah,
that's smart. He has no reason to run them out yet. And the other thing is, like, it's harder for him to run out both on the same turn just because Dan has enough mana to counter twice.
I don't think that's going to get any better for him, though, so he does have to consider that.
Yeah, and that Mana Confluence is actually, it's almost irrelevant against Dan. Do we know if Dan's win condition is 2 Pearl-Like Ancient, the same as Owen Turtenwall's list from the Pro Tour Cons of Tarkir? Yeah, so his graveyard is actually huge right now. So, I mean, any Dig Through Time he has, which looks like he does not right now, is actually going to cost 2 mana for him. So that's pretty sweet. Looks like did he discard a Dig Through Time?
I can't imagine he would discard one. I mean, he did play Commune with the Gods.
Oh, he communed with the Gods. Okay,
Yeah.
so that's gone. That's unfortunate because that's
it's one of 3 he has in his list. He'll find another one.
It looks like he has a bunch of pieces in his hand, but he still has to get around a combo, or around a counter spell. So he actually has to have a little redundancy here and draw a second of whatever piece Dan chooses to copy. So
yeah, the tough part is he really does need that Sylvan Caryatid. Like right now, what we were talking about at the onset is happening. Dan Zeiler has Hero's Downfall and Murderous Cut in hand with a Dissolve.
And if you look at the situation, like if Dan can bait out, or if Mark-Antony can bait out a counter with this, which I'm sure he will right now. There's no way that doesn't get countered. If Dan doesn't draw a second counter and Mark does draw a Sylvan Caryatid, he can just go off with those 2. I guess Mark is not that far from just going off. He just needs the Caryatid. He has a second Jeskai Ascendancy, he has a Retraction Helix in hand, and he has a Briber's Purse that he can cast for 0.
Oh, yeah,
so the only thing that Dan can do to stop that is draw another Dissolve, basically. So he did not want that.
So there's the Dissolve. He's going to ship a card to the bottom.
That was not a Dissolve on the top, I imagine. So
now he does actually have Dan without a counter spell in his hand for the moment here.
That's a Thoughtseize. So that's almost like a Dissolve in this situation.
It depends on, redundant copies. Like if he nabs the other copy of Jeskai Ascendancy right there,
get a good look at this hat here. Yeah, and that's
Dissolve-ish.
That's actually going to be 2 copies of Jeskai Ascendancy if he nabs it.
I thought you said hand. You said hat.
That's a good hat there, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Look at that thing. You can get a good look at that. And yeah, so if he nabs this Jeskai Ascendancy, it's actually 2 copies, so he only has 2 left in his deck, which is, it's going to be harder to find. Then he'd have to actually find a 3rd copy and a copy of Sylvan Caryatid, because we know
Dan is all accessorized. He's got a Hello Kitty life pad too. He's got the big hat going. He's got it all.
Yeah, and he definitely took the Jeskai Ascendancy there.
Yep.
Manuel Oriana, if you're in the room, please come up to the stage. Manuel Oriana, to the stage, please.
That looks like a Frontier Bivouac there.
Indeed.
Oh, he kept it on top. Interesting.
Oh, you mean you thought you saw a bivouac on top of his
No,
deck?
in his hand.
Yeah, he's gone with it. So what's interesting about keeping something on top?
Because he only needs very specific cards right now.
Okay.
And
how about dig through?
That is that'll do it.
Just fire it off on the old upkeep here, or just do it now?
Oh, during the upkeep seems fine as well.
Yeah, I don't think I'd let him have a draw there.
And you got the Prolic Ancient from Dan.
But I don't think it's gonna I think if he goes for dig, I think it's just gonna resolve.
Oh yeah, I think so. Yeah, there's no counter spell in his hand right now.
I mean, like let's look at Daniel Zeiler's deck. 4 Dissolve. He's got 2 Disdainful Stroke, which I don't think hit anything of consequence on Mark-Antony's side. Wow. That's it.
Yeah.
He's got 4 Dissolve. So he's down 1 Dissolve. This is going to be really rough for Dan, actually, with only 4 Dissolve total.
There's a Caryatid. If Mark-Antony were to hit... Oh, and he's got a Commune, too. He can actually go Caryatid Commune and just search for the Jeskai Ascendancy there. And I think that's what he's going to do. He's like, these are the 2 pieces I need. So... I mean, I got to hand it, I didn't like this deck at first. I actually played against this on Magic Online. My opponent took 14 minutes, and I didn't even, I just sat there for 14 minutes. I have 6th. And, because they could mess up or they could time out, so I'm not going to, just concede on the spot. But it was frustrating, so I was like, oh man, this combo deck is grueling. But looking at it now, it actually looks pretty fun to play. And I don't think it's actually devoid of skill. It actually looks like a very skillful deck.
I thought you were saying I didn't have double.
There's a very, you're able to respond to things with Retraction Helix. You have to make sure you play the cards in the correct order. There's a ton of triggers you have to remember. There's a lot of interaction with this deck. I mean, between its own cards anyway, that a pilot could mess up on very easily. And I don't think this deck is for. I think it does take some skill to pilot this deck. So. And he keeps using Mana Confluence for black mana through the Urborg, so it's basically just a colorless mana now, which is much better than City of Brass, because if it was City of Brass, he'd be taking 1 every time anyway.
All right, here's a Caryatid.
1 down.
So that's huge. And if he actually had the combo, he could go off this right now.
Yeah, because he has the Briber's Purse in hand. Well, Sylvan Carry doesn't have haste though, so
That's true.
you'd have to actually wait till next turn.
Well, yeah, I just mean like he could be all set to go.
Oh yeah, if he resolves a.
Here we go.
And
This
I think
is huge.
Since the dig through time resolved, I think he knows his opponent does not have.
Oh, but he's bricking.
That is unfortunate.
All right. The bricks. Well, at least he got those out of the way. They're not Jeskai's Ascendancy,
true.
so
That's 5
he's got to
cards
find
closer to the
2
next
copies
one.
of it, and he's
he
got to
says
do it
you.
before his opponent finds a dig through time.
That's a big deal. He might only have 2 turns
He
here.
might only have 2 turns.
Well, technically 1, because he's going to attack this turn. So Mark would get a draw step, and then he gets to attack again.
Yeah.
And
There's an Aether Spouts in hand for Zeiler,
that
which shouldn't
is
matter.
a blank.
I mean, Mark-Antony can attack, but yeah, usually he doesn't. All right, so
Yeah,
this
that
is
is
a
true.
huge
That
draw
is a,
step here for Mark. If he finds an Ascendancy, though,
I think he wins.
He wins. And I don't think I think interestingly, the Pearl Lake Ancient. Let's see what he draws.
Oh man,
This is a big one.
Can you imagine if it's going to be a Jeskai Ascendancy?
And I think he's going to go for it anyway because he feels like he might die. It's a Caryatid.
Actually, that's good because
That's
he
very
can
good.
block the Pearl Lake Ancient. It gives him another turn.
He also can take a turn if he's got. Doesn't he have 2 Retraction Helix in hand, or is it just 1?
He might, but another thing he can do is actually play Briber's Purse and shut off the. He can play Briber's Purse for 7, shut off the Pearl Lake Ancient, and then when he's about to go off, just bounce the Briber's Purse.
That's hilarious.
Which is actually, yeah, that's what he's going to do. He's playing
He's
it
doing
for 5.
And I think he's going to run out that other Caryatid. Look at this guy. Look at Dan. He's like, oh, come on.
You're actually going to activate this card?
Yeah.
That's actually incredible because unlike.
That's sweet. Yeah, this is really insane against it. He's going to hold that Pearl Lake Ancient back forever.
These completely innocuous cards that you don't use correctly in this deck, like Briber's Purse, you're never activating, you're just bouncing it and playing it for 0, are actually insanely useful against Dan Zeiler.
I think Mark's actually considering playing out that other Caryatid, which seems pretty risky.
It does.
He didn't.
That's actually better.
Yeah, because if his opponent goes Perilous Vault activate,
yeah, then you've lost
done.
2. Which is, that's great. That's great for Mark. I think that's the correct play.
Yeah, he's going to go ahead and murderous cut here. All right.
And I was like, oh, but he can't activate the, but he can still tap Caryatid to activate the Briber's Purse. He's like, I will try to attack, no. 4 turns is just huge. That's so many turns. Plus, he still has Retraction. Right.
Yeah, it's huge.
4 more turns. And he has Retraction Helix to bounce it and replay it if need be.
Yes, he does.
So that could buy him 10 turns. Probably more. He could.
Ooh, he just drew Ascendancy. He did.
Oh, man.
He just peeled it.
That's real. I mean, he was due for it. He dug through.
He was due for it. Is that how Magic works?
Well, he was due to draw. Yeah, he had 7 cards with the dig through time, 5 with a commune, 5 with a commune. So he went through about 14 cards.
I mean, he already had drawn 2 of them, and I don't think that being due for anything matter. Like, Dan Zeiler hasn't drawn a single copy of Perilous Vault.
I don't mean due for it as in
I feel like justice
it
dictates that Dan Zeiler draws his Perilous Vault.
No, I don't mean due for it as in like, you know, he had it coming. I mean, like, the likelihood of him drawing it was much higher considering how many cards he'd burned through.
Look at this. This is super funny. Here, he's going for it.
Yeah, he has to.
I mean, he doesn't have to. He's facing down an opponent with 100 untapped land. He could be thinking other things, but
he can't. Like, there's no better time. Like, the next turn, it's not.
I agree. I'm just saying, it's like he's certainly thinking about it. All right, so here's Ascendancy, and if that resolves, then he knows the way should be clear here. And what is he doing? Just figuring out.
If that resolves, you have no counterspell. That's basically what it comes down to.
Yep.
Like, that's not the card you let resolve.
No, because he has no way to interact with his board otherwise.
Yeah. And he's like, okay, so what now? What do we do now? Oh man,
is Zeiler like pump faking a counter here, just like, oh, I'll think about it for a long time and then let it resolve?
Briber's Purse on Pearl Lake Ancient. Just fantastic.
That is pretty sweet.
I like that a lot. That guy does not have hexproof.
All right, here we go. Zoop zoop.
The old zoop zoop. Yep, untap. I will loot.
What did he target?
What do you mean? Well, he hasn't activated yet. He targeted the Sylvan Caryatid with Retraction Helix.
Oh, that's all he did. Okay,
yeah,
cool.
He hasn't actually bounced anything yet.
All right, there we go.
Briber's Purse.
Briber's Purse back to his hand.
This is when it gets academic. Replay Briber's Purse.
Yep.
Untap and loot.
Poor Zeiler can just shrug his hands.
I will sit here while you kill me.
And off we go. And now he gets to loot as many times as he wants.
Bounce play. Untap.
He has to go through all these motions.
Yep, and it shouldn't take actually too long. Once he has the Altar of the Byrd in play, it's...
But it is interesting because the altar will prompt a concession from Dan. All right, so I think that they've agreed that he can just sort of go through this here. All right, so he's going to need to discard a card from his hand here, though. He looted that last. He just drew it and played it. He hasn't discarded. He did this yesterday too.
But he might not trigger. No, you don't. You also don't have to trigger that part of Jeskai Ascendancy. It's a May ability. You may draw a card and discard a card.
But he drew the card.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
You don't get to May the discard card. Yeah.
I will choose to draw, and I will decline
and
the discard.
It's academic for this game, but he should show him a card from his hand.
Correct. I agree.
You know, like. No, he played it, Rashad. He paid a mana and tapped. Yes, he paid a mana and cast it. So it's a small thing, but it certainly matters, and it happened yesterday too. So he's got to clean up that last little segment to make sure that he gets it. He had a card in his hand, like it all worked out.
The only concern is that if that happened in certain situations where it was his last card in hand.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying. Like he did have a card, but Dan gets to see that card that you discarded.
Right,
you know,
exactly. So that's information. Right.
Yeah,
and every point matters. So and looks like the back table is finished already.
Yeah, that must have been
Ben
mono
Weinberg
red.
playing mono red.
I'm going to assume that Ben won.
I feel like if we put Ben on any of the tables, we just put them at table 1. Their match will conclude in 5 minutes, and then we can go to the second match. We could have got a full game
match. 2 here. Yeah. Yeah, you might be right there. Let's see what Ben was playing against. He was playing against Courser, Fleece Main Line. Looks like Obzon aggro here. Yeah, it looks like Obzon mid-range. He's got one Rakshasa Death Dealer.
Just a pretty typical Abzen mid-range.
Yeah, 4 Fleece Main Line, 4 Courser, 3 Ringmate Rock, carry addeds. Yeah, but he's got 1 Ajani, 1 Elspeth for the top end, plus 4 Obzon Charm.
Yeah, the Wingmate Rocks in the Siege Rhino seem great against mono red, but again, that's a matter of I have to get to 4 mana and 5 mana. And a lot of times 3 life from a Siege Rhino at 4 mana is just not going to cut it. Especially when you make it unable to block with like Hammer Hand or Frenzied Goblin.
It's true.
Yeah, so I mean, you're just fighting against. It's an uphill battle against mono red, I think. So yeah, Mark-Antony up a game. Like this deck is undefeated so far, and it's surprising because it's the one combo deck in the format, and Standard doesn't usually have combo decks like this. Like I don't remember the last time we've had a combo deck like this. And blue-black control, obviously the deck in the format that's taken over for like Esper or blue-white control. It's the default control deck in the format. But it's, I think compared to the older iterations like blue-white, it has some weaknesses. Like you don't have Sphinx's Revelation, you don't have a 4-mana sweeper, you have a 9-mana sweeper essentially.
Is it social hour down there, Rashad? Are they just chatting it up here? They should be sideboarding.
You don't have Doomblades.
Do you miss Doomblade, Frank?
I miss having a Doomblade esque card, like an Ultimate Price, or you know, like I guess Murderous Cut is actually great. Like it's
not that though.
It's definitely not.
You can't turn 2 kill something.
Right.
It matters, you know.
And Bileblade is very restrictive with double black. Like that's a very restrictive casting cost. So I mean, yeah, it's interesting that this is the first time in a long time where you just don't have a one colorless 1 black mana removal spell at instant speed. And you know, you have Hero's Downfall. You have all kinds of. You have a lot of alternative removal, but none of them is 2 mana remove, just kill a creature. And obviously Murderous Cut's great because it kills any creature. But if you guys are looking to pick up any Magic cards, singles, sealed products, foils, promos, whatever you're looking for, you can head on over to TCGplayer.com. We have the largest inventory anywhere. You can purchase from thousands of sellers. Save big as vendors are always competing to get you the lowest price. So TCGplayer.com, where you're guaranteed the lowest price based on hundreds and thousands of sellers.
Shuffled already? Oh man, come on.
These guys are.
You sell cards on there, don't you?
I do actually. You know,
you're one of those sellers.
Yeah, like we opened up selling to the public. It's an option that we have now, and I basically made an account for myself, and I listed my cards, and now people can just purchase from me. And it's funny because like I'll get orders, and there'll be a message in the order that says, "Hey, can you sign these cards when you send them?" And I was like, "Yeah, definitely."
Oh, that's kind of
cool. So it's interesting because a lot of times my handle online is just my name, so people like I like the non-anonymity of it because I like, you know, being responsible for the things I post. So like I just made my storefront my name. Like I'm just like, that's my account, whatever.
It's not called When It Rains.
No, it's not called When It Rains. It's not called Make You Black and Blue Like the Dark Slick Shores.
All right, it looks like we're finally almost underway. I can kind of see how Mark-Antony picked up a draw yesterday. He took like 20 minutes to
shuffle.
yeah, I mean, he's having a nice chat with his opponent. Like, I don't begrudge him that.
And it's a it's a,
you know.
Oh, he actually waited to draw his 7 until his opponent did?
He's really milking his cameras.
These are some slow procedures.
Yeah,
here.
I mean, if I was that judge, I would have been like, dude, stop talking and sideboard.
I'm going to need you to concentrate.
But I am happy to see that the players are enjoying their time in the feature match, and you know,
it's
like
all cordial.
It's real good that they're able to do that. It's just, you know, when we're sitting here in the booth, it's like, come on,
we're waiting
dude.
it out.
Yeah.
We got games to play. There's magic to play, man. Look at that. That's actually, yeah. And Evolving Wilds is a card I did not expect to see in Standard. Because it's like, once you print the fetch lands, we're like, well, now I don't need you, Evolving Wilds.
And there it is.
People are still getting their basics.
It's the super fetch land. It gets anything.
It is, actually, yeah. And without things like Misty Rainforest or, you know, Scalding Tarn, sometimes you just need that off color. If I have a Flooded Strand in my Esper deck, sometimes I need to get a black. So I don't see a lot of key pieces in Mark-Antony's hand this game. I see a Rattleclaw Mystic. There's a Jeskai Ascendancy. But other than that, that guy's dead. Oh, and we see a Negate in Dan Zeiler's hand.
Oh, absolutely.
Clearly was boarded in instantaneously.
Yeah, that's probably one of his best cards. He's only got 2 of them, though. He does have an additional Thoughtseize, which he'll bring in as well.
Which we're going to see right now, I imagine. Boom. Sees ya, bro.
Alright, so Jeskai Ascendancy down.
I imagine that Jeskai Ascendancy is going immediately into the Grumper.
Enjoy your Twin Flame and your Dragon Mantle.
And there's a good,
you really can't cast.
There's a good shot of Crabgar on the screen right there. Curtis Aramis. Did oh, I can see that. Yeah, people love their League of Legends term.
It's a League of Legends.
It's a Ramis.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's what we've been told.
I'm out on all this stuff. No.
Don't be that guy.
Sorry, I am that guy. I don't know any of this stuff. I don't
but
even care.
We're trying to. I don't care.
Got a reader.
I'd rather play Rattleclaw Mystics. That's my game.
Indeed. If they made a Rattleclaw Mystic hat, who is, by the way, wearing a very elaborate headgear.
The headgear on those creatures is very interesting.
I would wear that.
It's also on the Mindswipe. You can see it. You can see the
yes,
the Rattleclaw Clan Mindswipe.
You are correct.
Headgear.
Same artist? Is it the same artist?
Maybe.
Or did they just sync up and?
I think it's just. I think they. Well, I imagine they give you design notes. Like this is what it looks like.
But it's pretty insane if they're that close, right? Like you could go a lot of different directions. All right, ship the turn back after playing Hollowed Fountain, making sure to leave up Negate here. It was Ascendancy that hit the bin, and yeah, Mark-Antony just doesn't have a whole lot going on.
He's just attacking.
Yeah, he's just getting in battle mode because there's no way he can run out his one of now 2 Dragon Mantles.
Back in the day, my mana creatures that produce 3 mana, they also had Exalted. Back in my day.
There's a Helix, but
with no Ascendancy, that's
you just can't do anything.
Yeah, that's just a
I do not like
spell.
how this looks for Mark-Antony here so far. It feels like Dan, he has a Dig Through Time in his hand as well. He's a couple of mana away from being able to cast that.
Yeah. He is missing a couple blue.
Like he's gonna Murderous Cut here. What do you mean missing a couple?
I mean, like if he digs through time, like he can't negate as well. So I kind of like to have 3 blue in play.
Yeah, I think he thinks to the Thoughtseize. He's not under any time constraint.
Oh, I agree. Like when you saw Mark-Antony's hand, like you know he's not that close.
Yeah, Mark-Antony now has all of the easy combo pieces to get. He's got his free artifact, he's got his draw spell, and he's got his Helix. He needs the tough parts.
The creature and the enchantment.
Yeah, and it's got to be a good creature, namely a Sylvan Caryatid.
Specifically a Sylvan Caryatid.
Yeah, and he just
there it is.
Hey, speak of the devil.
Yeah. But
he just doesn't.
We know Dan just drew a dissolve, but he passed. Yeah, Mark-Antony didn't even rush it out. He's like,
oops.
Oh boy, that's awkward.
Thoughtseize number 2. Good timing.
Man, I was just.
I mean, he was damned if he did, damned if he didn't.
Right, exactly.
Like he can't run it out there.
Which is great. Which is great discipline by Mark. Like a lot of players would have just run it out there, but he said, no, there's no point to having it in play right now.
So looks like the Caryatid's going to say bye-bye as Dan Zeiler consults his notes.
So, Double Dragon's Mantle, a Briber's Purse, a Twin Flame. Twin Flame is a card from Journey into Nyx It has Strive, and you can copy any number of creatures and put tokens of them into play with haste. So a lot of times that's used to create, say, a copy of a Kiora's Follower rather, and you know, you'll Jeskai Ascendancy trigger so many times that it gets +1/+1, and eventually you can attack with the tokens for 20 damage, 30 damage, you know, however much damage you.
I mean, you can just strive. Once you get in infinite mana, you can just strive out.
Strive infinitely.
Army, yeah.
Yeah. So that's an alternate win condition for the deck. The deck actually has a multiple ways of attacking from different angles. So
he took Briber's Purse there.
And that carry-out is not going to resolve, especially when Dan knows your entire hand. Yeah, game 2 is going to be much more difficult for Mark-Antony to win here.
Yeah, Dan Zeiler's basically shipping any non-land cards to the bottom at this point. But this is interesting. He did use the Dissolve on the carry-out, which is going to let Mark resolve something.
A second carry-out.
Oh, where did that come from? He top decked that?
Yeah, I imagine he just drew it. He doesn't have any other draws. He doesn't have any.
Wow!
Extra.
So this turn actually ends up quite good for Mark-Antony. He's going to draw a card, get a Dragon Mantle down, and actually resolved on that carry added and ship the turn back. So pretty interesting.
That's pretty good.
There's a much needed land drop there for Zeiler. He had actually missed a couple of land drops in there. So.
And actually, the thing is, like, once Mark-Antony resolves the carry added, Dan has no way to deal with it outside of Perilous Vault, which.
Yes, he's going to have to fight on a different axis, and here we go. Mark-Antony draws negate
that's insanely good as well.
Yeah, now it's not going to do much here, I don't think, right?
Well, he's clearly attacking for 0. So, yeah, another Dragon's Mantle. Cantrip.
All right, draw a card, and he finds a few more lands. So, nothing's going to happen this turn, but he's sifting through his deck at a decent rate, and let's dig.
We're digging through time. Oh, do you negate this?
I don't think you do.
Well, the thing is, like, if Dan gets 2 counter spells,
yeah, you're right. If he gets 2 counters, it's even worse
than not negating.
Yeah, you're probably right. Yeah, I guess you do negate it. That sucks.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to waste your counter spell on that. You want to waste it on something that's going to actually.
Yeah, because you need to be able to get him. You know, maybe you still don't. He's only got 2 blue mana.
Ideally, you want to negate his negate
or his counter spell.
Right, that's what I mean. So you know he can only negate one thing.
Yeah, like if he draws Ascendancy there, I think you just run it out.
That's real bad.
Uh-oh.
Wah, wah, wah. That's a sad trombone there.
That's what that was.
Well, and there's a Dig Through Time in there. Looks like Dig Through Time in 7 lands?
Oh, there was something at the back. I couldn't see it though. At any rate, it's another Dig Through Time, so he's just sifting through his deck.
That's all you really need. And I love that Dig Through Time fuels the next Dig Through Time by 1. Yeah. It looked like 7 lands in a Dig Through Time.
Oh,
and that's a Perilous Vault.
6 lands in a dig, but yeah.
Yeah. Well,
you have to look at 7.
7. You have to, I thought you looked at 8 for some reason.
No.
The 8 is the casting cost, is what I'm thinking. 1 card for every mana. I think you just play Perilous Vault here and keep negate up. Yeah, that's real good.
What did he put on top of his library?
I did not see.
Okay.
So next turn you can actually activate Perilous Vault and still keep 2 up for negate.
Yeah, and unfortunately the window seems to be closing for Mark-Antony here. He did find a Commune with the Gods, so he can dig and I mean not dig through time, but he can literally dig through his library with that. Find an Ascendancy, play it, but now he doesn't have that negate to.
Yeah, and Dan does have
back
negate.
It up. Yeah. This would be the window for Mark to go off.
Yeah, I agree. But he doesn't know that it's all for naught.
And I mean, he can't anyway without the Ascendancy.
There's Commune.
No problem.
Dan's like, you got it. Nope.
Nope. Bricking, still missing, and didn't get there.
I do like the Swan Songs that Mark's brought in. Those are actually very versatile.
Yeah, those are super good. Unfortunately, you can't pick them with his Commune. They're going to have to hit the graveyard here.
I'm going to take old Rattly. But if Dan doesn't have a removal spell, which doesn't look like he does right now, that Rattleclaw Mystic could be just as good as Carry Added in this situation. So Mark's not out of the game yet.
Well, but he's already got a Carry Added, so that's not the piece that he's.
But Perilous Vault blowing up the board with the Carry Added on it.
Oh, you mean post Vault?
Correct, post Vault.
Ah, okay.
Because it's just as good when Dan has no removal spells in hand.
Yeah, the problem is that Vault, like, if Mark doesn't do anything here,
he has no incentive.
Dan has no incentive to blow up the Vault. Yeah. He's just going to sit there.
Yeah, it's very. Oh, and there's a Murderous Cut. So the whole argument is invalid now. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, right now, Dan Zeiler's firmly in the driver's seat. He's now got negate plus dissolve mana up with both cards in hand.
Scry lands are very good. Nope, did not like it. Goes to the bottom for Mark-Antony. And so we have Retraction Helix, Twin Flame, Rattleclaw Mystic in Mark's hand. None of these cards are very... Oh, is that the third or the fourth?
Third.
Good lord. Do you see we have four or three? He has four, so he has a full set.
Actually, might be the fourth. He had the first one countered.
Yeah, the
played
second one
resolved it, found a second one, played it, and now he's played this one. So that is
three.
the fourth.
Oh, right.
Isn't it? This is the fourth.
Really?
He played one, had it countered.
Right.
Played another one, it resolved. He found another one with it.
That's the one he found, though, isn't this one?
Oh, is that this one?
Yeah, that's this one. Because the first one he just got land and dig. So that's the dig he got off the first one.
You're correct.
And it looks like Dan also has a dissolve in hand, which
This is spiraling out of control, though. What is Mark-Antony going to do? Oh, he's going to get rid of the vault.
This is what we were talking about.
We did talk about this to try to constrain his mana.
And it gives him an opening. Like now he doesn't have the mana to play it and activate it, so
I think
gives
he
Mark
just
a draw.
ship the turn back here. He's got now 2 dissolves. Play that island. He can play dissolve. It's pretty tough for Mark to come up with that.
Yeah.
But he has dissolve negate now, which is effectively the same thing.
Can you get past 2 counter spells? Well, I can't get past 1.
Yeah, I think you just ship
another commune. Oh, it's got to feel so close for Mark, right? Like you were like, here, I'm gonna find it, and I'm gonna go off.
I don't know. I think if I'm in Mark's seat, I feel like I'm way far away.
Yeah, especially because Dan didn't replay the vault, so you have to know something's up. He's like, yeah, go for it.
Just resolve 2 dig through times.
You got it. And
the bricks.
No Ascendancy
running
there.
the full. No, nothing there.
Well, you got a Rattleclaw.
Oh, he did. Yeah, you're right.
That's not what you want to see.
Rattleclaw is not high on the list.
Yeah, he's just gonna play it.
Yeah, he's gonna start beating down.
Yeah,
with
I'm just gonna beat up, and it's dead, and it's gone.
I wish I could target him.
Yeah,
that is a healthy graveyard for Mark-Antony Byrd.
That is a healthy graveyard, and I think we've only seen 1 Jeskai Ascendancy this game.
Yeah, and it's at the bottom of his graveyard.
Yeah, so I mean, he still has 3 in the deck.
Yeah, he does. But I mean, at this point, I think that we're playing a game where, if you count the Perilous Vault, Mark-Antony Byrd has 3 Jeskai Ascendancies, and Dan Zeiler has 3 answers to Jeskai Ascendancy in his hand that I don't think Mark can really do much about.
No, he can basically just counter each instance of Jeskai Ascendancy and play the slow game.
So the question is there a backup plan for Mark-Antony? Like, is it beating down with Rattleclaw Mystics? Because that's not going to get him there.
Yeah, I feel like Mark's avenues to victory right now are they all have roadblocks.
But at the same time...
Oh, that could be an Ashen Cloud Phoenix. Nobody knows.
An Ashen Cloud Phoenix, yeah. It's going to take Dan Zeiler a lot of turns to actually win this game.
Yeah, oh, he's just going to blow it.
He's just popping the vault right now?
He has no reason not to. Like, he has 3 counter spells in hand, so there's nothing...
Oh, man, I sit on that vault as long as... Like, until you play a combo piece...
And a Hero's Downfall. This is...
Once you play a combo piece that's starting to go off, that's when I pop the vault. I'm not doing it for
very last
value.
moment, right?
I'm doing it to disrupt you.
Ah, well, he had another one in hand. So.
That's... I play those decks different, man.
Yeah, I mean...
You got to show me something. I'm at 14.
Give me a little
You're not killing
here.
me with the...
Jace's Ingenuity for Dan, which is actually... I mean, I feel like that's a nail in the coffin more than anything.
I agree. Although it probably will get negated, though that's just delaying the inevitable.
Mark has a negate in his own hand.
That's what I mean.
What's the...
He has 2 negates.
And 4 Swan Songs. So
but we saw 2 Swan Songs go away,
so
and the negate's gone too. Yeah, this isn't happening.
So I think I saw...
Oh. There you go. All right, that was a close one. He drew 3 off of Jace's Ingenuity and went to do his draw step.
He's just, I'm going to keep
going.
Well,
I think he was just sort of shortcutting, untapping, but like...
let's make sure we visually see that.
Yeah. So, but anyway, I was saying, we noticed that Mark-Antony has a draw on his record. And, they were kind of taking their time during sideboarding and kind of fussing around, but like this game...
Yeah, and it's true, like if your opponent can't win the game, Mark has no incentive to concede the game.
He has no incentive, so Dan Zeiler has to try to you know, find that Pearl location and get this game finished as quickly as he can.
Mark's up a game, so like he has no incentive to just go to game 3 here.
No.
Dan is not winning the game right now. There is a Pearl Ancient in his hand, so that could change.
Dan, like, he's like 95% to win this game.
Oh yeah, but until it happens, like, it's still just a...
Did he draw the Pearl Ancient, is that what you said?
Yeah, there's a Pearl Ancient in his hand.
Great. Because I'd like to see a game 3 here, and I would like it to not be under hardcore time constraints.
Yeah. And I feel like players are actually playing relatively quickly.
Oh yeah,
like
they're doing fine.
Dan's
I just this matchup just tends to stall out like this.
I cannot negate your Pearl Lake Ancient.
He also can't interact with it very many ways. There's a few,
block
but
it.
he can block it. He can retraction helix it, and he can Bribers Purse it. But at the end of the day, Dan Zeiler is going to untap with 1,000,000 counter spells, and he's already got 2.
Mark-Antony is not playing a deck that has a particularly large number of answers to creatures of any kind.
All right, he's going to dig. He's going to dig, yeah.
That seems like it could be good.
It could be.
I mean, I'm speaking in like fairly broad terms in the fact that like we both know that nothing is really going to resolve here. Like, I don't even think the dig is going to resolve, so...
This is last call
Nay.
for the Diamond $5,000 Magic Tournament. If you have not signed up...
And I'll
get it back, and they're actually going to have a full-on fight over this.
Yeah, you want to resolve a dig. Like, that's 2 cards.
At this time,
But isn't this all on Dan Zeiler's end step?
it will begin promptly at 10.
Yeah, no, because he played the Pearl Lake Ancient on Mark's end step.
Oh, he played it on Mark's end
step. So in response, he said, I'll dig.
Gotcha.
So now it's Dan's turn. Which is sad, because I feel like he would have wanted those prowess triggers.
Yes, he would have.
Although on a 2-turn clock.
It shouldn't matter. He can fire off two prowess triggers, I think, if he needs to. Anyway.
You can actually Heroes Downfall your own Pearl Lake Ancient, then dissolve it if you really need to.
Yeah.
And Dan would still actually have a dissolve in hand for any shenanigans.
Yeah, I mean, I think he can also just attack, let him chump block, and then keep things moving forward. The question is, like, how aggressive does Dan get with his counter spells here? Because he needs to get the job done.
Actually, that is a prowess trigger.
That is, so he's almost there.
And he knows, yeah, actually, I think he could
just peel the carry added here, right? It's a chump blocker.
Yeah, and it forces...
okay.
I don't think I would have taken Twin Flame there. It incentivizes him to not block with carry added and say, oh, it's only 7. I'll take it, I'll go to 1. And then Dan could be like, okay, kill my guy, counter it. You're dead, I know exactly what you have.
He knows exactly what you have. Oh, did he pick up the pen?
Yeah, he gave him another turn. Interesting. You know what he has, so you could have literally just Heroes Downfall.
Does he not have Heroes Downfall or something?
No, it's right there. It's at the...
I'm not seeing one.
Right there.
Oh, there is one.
Yep. Yeah, he has Heroes Downfall.
So he just could have completely won the game right there and decided not to. I'm not sure I would let my opponent have an extra rip. He just drew dig through time as well.
Yeah, specifically because I know all the cards in your hand, so...
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't matter, but hey, you got to clean it up a little, you know, shut the door on the game. They got a whole other game to play.
Oh, no, I just mean specifically because I can't, I know you can't do anything about it.
Right, that's what I'm saying. He just looked at his hand. He knows what's up.
I know you're not going to retraction helix me in response, so...
They got 12 minutes left, these players do?
Yeah.
All right. It's going to be tough. They can't afford another game like this. They can, game 1 they could do again.
Yeah, this game has been a little slow. But
yeah, I mean, there's just a whole lot that needed to happen here. So it's
not only that, but Dan Zeiler in general, his matches are going to be slow. Like this is not a deck that wins quickly, you know. And they both acknowledge that. And
all right, so we are going to get a game 3, and let's hope that they don't dawdle around too much here. They got to get this game moving.
Yeah, unlike Magic Online, each player does not have their own clock. So
no,
if you go to time here, both players are getting that draw.
Yeah, I mean...
Do you like that better, or what do you like better, Real Life or Magic Online in terms of the clock management?
Magic Online.
Yeah, you think it's? I do as well. I think it's a more fair. You know, no one can monopolize the time in a specific game. So
right. I mean, I think that it's pretty acknowledged that like the system we use is the best thing that we can have for live, but it's imperfect.
Yeah, but it's the best you can do.
Right.
You know, it's there's no way to implement chess clocks in Magic, so in any efficient capacity. So. Yep, and yeah, Mark might be a fairly slow shuffler as well, which might be one of the issues that he's had for picking up that draw. This hat is something else right there.
Dan Zeiler, I don't think he even picked up his deck box at all.
I mean, I think he knows that there's dead cards
straight away,
and I think he knows exactly what he needs. Do you keep in? You probably keep in Disdainful Stroke if you're Zeiler. It doesn't counter much, but it does counter dig through time. So
I think you can take it out.
You just have so many things to take out, though. You probably take out Byleth's Blade. Wait, he left Hero's Downfall in too.
I think leaving in. I mean, you do need to kill. There are still creatures
spouts out, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. The Hero's Downfall was interesting because it only it hits creatures, but he also had Murderous Cut as well. So maybe he took out Bile Blade. I'm not sure. I don't know what his sideboarding plan would be.
Yeah, Bile Blade should come out.
Do you think Bile Blade is better than Hero's Downfall to take out?
No, I think you leave Hero's Downfall in. I don't think it's a timing issue. Like, I don't think the 1 mana matters. And who knows? Mark-Antony might be like Kiora or something. You know, just like something that you're like, oh crap.
Okay, that's fair.
Like, who knows what people run, right?
Yeah.
People are crazy.
People are crazy. People play crazy stuff. I mean, I never thought a race would see play, but I mean, it's been in a couple sideboards this weekend, so.
Yeah, it's a good sideboard card.
And it exiles the enchantment, which is very relevant.
And it's super cheap at only 1 mana.
1 mana.
Yeah. Great sideboard card.
And if you guys are looking to play more Magic, mark your calendars for 2015. We have Player Appreciation Weekend, Modern State Championships, the TCGplayer.com Invitational on June 6th, Store Championship Weekend, and Standard State Championships. So check out all the events we're offering on magic.tcgplayer.com, and get out there and play some Magic. We're gonna play some Magic later. We're gonna go draft.
I'm getting into the side event queues once we're off the air.
Yeah, I mean we probably won't be here for the next round because of drafting, but
no, I meant off the air for the day.
Oh, I will
see through the
after this round.
No.
Your conviction is stronger than mine, sir. What is this? Do we know what this shirt is? It looks very familiar that Mark-Antony has. I feel like it's from a game.
I have no idea.
I feel like the chat can probably answer that for us. I bet we'll have an answer in like 6 seconds.
It is a wolf dragon.
I don't know if there's any dragonly aspects to it. I think it's just a wolf and a moon.
I'm calling it right now, wolf dragon.
Okay. That's Marshall's vote.
It's been called.
Wolf dragon has been called. All right, so what is this?
He's just joking around.
Oh, okay. He's like, this is your... Okay. He counted out 7 and stuck those on top. Like, this is... I'm cutting to your 7 cards.
Championship players.
They're having a good time.
Can you do that?
Just, I mean, it's just it's a cut, but you're cutting to specifically like a specific number of cards. Like,
it's a weird cut. All right, well, they are finally back underway here, and I think they've both kept. All right, so let's see if we can get a full game in here. It'd be a shame to have this sweet match go to.
I think they should probably have around 9 minutes left, I would imagine.
I think you're being optimistic.
Yeah?
That took a long time, man.
No, but we were just told they had 12, so I
know, it took more than 3. They had 7.
Okay.
Yeah. That was 5 minutes of sideboarding.
Well, that's 2 minutes away from what I...
Yeah, 2 minutes is a lot of time, man.
No, I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying I was relatively close.
You were way off. Like, the range was up to 5 minutes. You didn't even get close. That was way too long. Oh. These guys are not going to finish. Unless, of course, Mark just goes off, right? Like, unless he just has, like, the nut hand and just goes for it.
Is there a second blue in Dan's hand? Oh, there it is. I think he literally just threw it.
Your Honor.
He has 3 swamps in hand. I don't think he had a second blue for dissolve until that right there.
Wow.
Which actually could have made the game completely different. But if Mark has a dissolve in hand...
What are we seeing here?
Or a negate. If Mark has a negate, he could actually play Jeskai Ascendancy and negate. That's just huge. Mark might... I'm looking at Mark's hand and Dan's hand, and I think Mark just might have this. Dan has 1 counterspell, a Prolake Ancient, and a Dig Through Time.
He's building up his mana here with his Sylvan Caryatids, and all of a sudden he started moving really quickly.
He's like, this is.
I think he's got all the pieces.
He does, and he's got a counterspell. It's looking real good for Mark. This is a very quick. Remember that?
No wonder he took so much time sideboarding. He didn't need it. He's just like, I'll just wait.
Once you get it, you get it. All right, this is going to be Jeskai Ascendancy.
And that's going to get countered, and he's going to counter back. And is he going to have a mana for the Retraction Helix? Yes, he will.
He's going to have 1 extra mana there.
And both of these Caryatids do not have Summoning Sickness.
No, they have been in play for and that
should do it.
And you're Mark, and you look at Dan's board, and you're like, you are all but tapped out right now.
Wait, but he doesn't have blue now?
No, now he does.
Of course he does.
Sylvan Caryatids, my friend.
And here he goes. Gets rid of Twin Flame, plays Helix, and says, gotcha.
And I think Dan's kind of like laughing, like, well.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I think you make him show you the altar. Now he's not going to do that. So that's going to do it. Mark-Antony Byrd shows us why he gets to sideboard. Went from 7 minutes to what, 5.5
14 seconds.
And that was it.